there is this remarkable and darkly hilarious and blatantly pathetic trend that's going on every 4 years, for as long as I can remember. You have all these elites, celebrities and the like, you say, oh, if George Bush wins, if John McCain wins, if Mitt Romney wins, I'm leaving the United States. 2016, I'm leaving. They never do, even when the Republicans win, even though they say they're going to. They sit right in the United States. Finally, in the second victory, Donald Trump, there were actually a few people who did leave the United States. Ellen DeGeneres moved to London. Rosie O'Donnell went to Ireland. So at least they're carrying through on this, but these are celebrities who aren't even worth mocking. What is worth looking at is the fact that you have these self-identified experts, these honored, heralded experts in the highest levels of American academia who are also now fleeing America, they say, because it's not safe for them to stay any longer. One of them is the Yale professor, Jason Stanley, who really just became a laughingstock the more he exposed himself on X. I mean, they have these like lofty titles at Yale, you know, the chair, the funded, named chair that they hold. Everything's designed to like elevate their stature and their prestige and their intellectual elevation. And then they go on to X and you realize what complete morons these people are. Just like politically banal in every way, you know, totally on board with Russiagate. So he's one of them. His fellow Yale professor, Timothy Snyder, who became pretty much like the academic hero of American liberals because he was extremely enthusiastic about Russiagate. He's an absolute fanatic about funding the war in Ukraine. He thinks Trump is in bed with Putin. And he wrote this book on tyranny that liberals think is the guidebook for how you avoid the authoritarianism and tyranny of Donald Trump. And then his wife, who is also a senior professor at Yale, all three of them are together fleeing the United States to Canada, and they're saying they're fleeing. It's not like they just got a job at another university. They did get a job in a Canadian university, but they're saying we're leaving because we fear America. We don't feel safe. These very protected, lofty, extremely wealthy, celebrated academics don't feel safe. Obviously, there are people whose civil liberties are at threat. We've been covering them a lot. It's not wealthy, shielded, coddled, highly credentialed Yale professors. And if you're going to make a career out of saying, oh, I'm a fascism expert, I'm going to teach you how to fight Trump's authoritarianism, you should be the last person running away and fleeing. You've told people, stay and fight. That's how you got rich. You wrote books saying the key is to disobey, defy them, stay and fight. And now not even 2 months into the administration, you're admittedly fleeing. And of course, they get a glamorous write-up in Vanity Fair. Here from Vanity Fair on Monday, the fascism expert at Yale who's fleeing America. Quote, philosophy professor Jason Stanley is leaving the U.S. for Canada. Can we put that up? The philosophy professor Jason Stanley is leaving the U.S. for Canada. Subheadline. So it says, Vanity Fair says, philosophy professor Jason Stanley is leaving the U.S. for Canada, which he calls, quote, the Ukraine of North America, because he believes Trump's America is, quote, pretty far along in the grips of fascism. Here's what the interviewer asked. She says, I'm a dual Canadian citizen. I went to high school in Canada. My family's there. I don't think I personally have witnessed anything like the tension between the two countries that I'm seeing now. What do you think Canada's role in all of this will be? And then Professor Stanley, the philosophy professor at Yale, says, Canada is going to be at the forefront because they're being squarely targeted by the United States. So just like Ukraine is squarely targeted by Russia, Canada is the Ukraine of North America right now. We, meaning the United States, are a fascist regime, so we can't tolerate a free democracy next to us. Canada is going to be like Ukraine, except they don't have the Ukrainian army. Trump has said he's not going to use the military against Canada, and I actually believe that, but he's going to relentlessly target Canada. And he talks about how his close friend, Timothy Snyder, is going with him, along with his wife, who, to be frank, I don't recall her name, but she's a celebrated professor at Yale as well. What is it? Marcy Shore, exactly. Thank you. Now, here is an excerpt of Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny, which has become a massive bestseller. I mean, he's made millions of dollars on this book because he wrote it. It came out in April 2017. It was obviously about Trump. I'm the academic expert, the historian and the expert on tyranny. And here I am to tell you that Trump is a tyrant, authoritarianism is coming, and here's how you have to resist it. The title, Resist Authoritarianism by Refusing to Obey in Advance. Timothy Snyder takes us from Nazism in Austria to the Milgram experiment. Quote, this is Snyder from his book. Do not obey in advance. Most of the power of authoritarianism is freely given. In times like these, individuals think ahead about what a more repressive government will want and then offer themselves without being asked. A citizen who adapts in this way is teaching power what it can do. Now, in fairness, a lot of people are suggesting that it's really his wife who's demanding that they flee and he's just going with her. But it's this trio. And Jason says, oh yeah, they're my best friends, those two. We're all fleeing together. After you wrote a book telling other people, fight, stand your ground and fight. Don't give in ahead of time. Because that's what teaches them that they can go further. And here he is fleeing the country, not fighting anything. No one's even targeted him. No one's even interested in him. Like if, the FBI starts snooping around and he hears he's about to be rearrested, okay, flee the country. But no one's even remotely suggesting that's going to happen. And they're the first ones out. In case you don't know who Jason Stanley is, let me show you this promo video of him talking about himself. It'll really give you a good sense of who this heroic, self-exiled dissident is.
My name is Jason Stanley. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy at Yale University. My name is Jason Stanley. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy at Yale University. Hi, my name is Jason Stanley. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy at Yale University. My name is Jason Stanley. I'm a teacher in the philosophy department here at Yale University. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy.
Do you see how we almost forgot to add that? It's so crucial to his identity, and then he corrected it. Watch this.
I'm a teacher in the philosophy department here at Yale University. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy at Yale University and the author of 5 books, most recently, How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them. What is success? You can be successful at many things. You can be successful at counting blades of grass. Is that success? It isn't success. I'm the Jacob Urofsky Professor of Philosophy at Yale University and the author of 5 books, most recently, How Fascism Works, The Politics of Us and Them.
All right, so do you get a sense for who he is? Are you at all surprised that he's fleeing the country thinking he's being persecuted? Like I said, I do think there are people whose civil liberties are in danger, whose liberty is in danger. But it's not them. And by the way, just as a side note, although he loves to, like in academia, there's sort of like assistant professor and then associate professor and then full professor, and then you get tenure. But the top is a named chair, a named professorship, which comes from people funding a certain chair or professor, and then you are like the, George Soros Professor of Finance or whatever. It's like it's supposed to be the most prestigious. Funny thing is, nobody knows who this Jacob Urofsky person is. Try and Google them. You can't find anything. The only thing that comes up is this person. He's apparently some anonymous person who, I guess, gave money to Yale for a chair in his name, and Jason Stanley is very proud of that. But no one even knows who this is. But it really shows you this kind of character of the most elite people who love to convince themselves that they're the most endangered. There was recently a trailer for a new film produced by Israel supporters, one of whom is the multi-billionaire Facebook mogul Sheryl Sandberg. And it's obviously coming out right as Gaza is being destroyed and hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of children are being killed. And it starts off with her saying, on the verge of tears, obviously Jews like me are very afraid, and I said to my friend, I need to ask you something. if it comes down to it, will you hide me? Will you hide me? And the friend said, what do you mean? She wasn't Jewish, the friend. And then Sheryl Sandberg explained, well, like Anne Frank, she was hidden by a non-Jewish family during the Holocaust. Will you hide me? And then she said, oh, the friend right away knew what I was talking about, but if she had been Jewish, she wouldn't have asked. She would have known exactly. So the person endangered, the person who needs to be hidden, the person who has to cry because she's victimized and persecuted is a multi-billionaire Facebook mogul who can, and I'm sure does have, her own small army of security and like private islands that she can escape to on her yacht or private plane. And that there is this tendency for the people who have the most security, who have the most power, to simultaneously want to depict themselves as the most persecuted and endangered victim. It's like a power play. It's not enough to have all that power. You then have to insist that you're simultaneously the ones who are victimized. It's a very common psychological dynamic if you look for it. Thanks for watching this clip from System Update, our live show that airs every Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern exclusively on Rumble. You can catch the full nightly shows live or view the backlog of episodes for free on our Rumble page. You can also find full episodes the morning after they air across all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Apple. All the information you need is linked below. We hope to see you there.